Buenos dias. Bienvenido. La clase de standard one. Safe practices. Don't forget to wear your mask. Don't forget to wash your hands and social distancing. So today we are looking at making a windmill, a paper windmill. We could either make, I'm going to show you beforehand before we start doing it, a colorful windmill, or we could just make a two-tone, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just that I know some of you might experience difficulty doing your colorful one. Um, so I gave you the option of doing the just two tones, okay? So let's start from the beginning here. Screen share, right? So we are looking at, I know that you are doing from the beginning here. This thing is sticking. Right, so I know that you all are for science, you all are doing a windmill, and it's an art and it's a craft lesson, but it has a measure of art in it. Craft means we are building. Before we start, let us understand what a square. We can form squares within a rectangle, right? A square, as you know, has four equal sides, four equal corners. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You could see it here. That's the four sides and four equal corners. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. And notice it's right angles. Now I know the little ones may not know what right angles are, but it's this L shape, a perfect L shape. Now, if you don't have a square, it's going to give you problems. It must be a square. And you measure it out to be 15 centimeters. One trick of the trade of making a square is to fold the paper. You measure 15 centimeters, fold it, and crease it down, right? Now at this point, you put a dot, use a ruler, draw a line, put a dot, draw a line. So that's a trick of the trade of making a square. Let me just show you here, right? So let me just stop share. Okay, so if I wanted to make a square, let's say 10 centimeters, I measure 10 and I fold it in like this, right? I take the end and I fold it to the top, right? Making a triangle. I fold it like this, right? Once it makes a triangle, it makes a square, but I want only 10 centimeters. So I measure here, if here's 10, and I fold it at that point 10 to make my triangle, okay? And that would give me my square. Let's go back here. That's a trick of the trade of making a square, right? Next, I want you to make two squares. Before we start the process, I want you to make two squares, right? Now, before we start anything, I also wanted to show you something quickly. Okay, no. So I want you to make two squares. We can paint it one square in tones of red. Notice that each fraction, because a square has four equal sides, so it's in four equal sections called fractions or quarters. Each quarter, I painted a different tone of red. So we have red, pink, purple, and blue, right? Or different tones of yellow. Yellow, light green, dark green, and I did a blue, all right? So each fraction I did that. So that was for my colorful windmill. I also wanted three squares. I used my Betty Crocker box, right? I prefer hardboard for this part. And I crossed out the diagonals. Now, I did not show you the picture here, but I punched a hole in the middle of the diagonals. That hole is very crucial to our windmill, okay? So you make your 3 squares, separate, cut it out separately, make sure and put a hole. So I should see a hole should be here, right here, and one here, and one here, right? Now, so your first square must fit, the small square must fit on the large square where the diagonals line up each other. And you will cut along the line up to the diagonal, okay, of the small square, okay? So that one is going to be your bottom. Remember, this is the bottom piece or the first square, all right? Remember that. This is your second one. Now, the diagonals don't line up. Notice it forms like a diamond. The small square forms like a diamond in the large square. They don't line up. However, you draw your lines of the diagonal. When it reaches the small square, go across. Next one, draw the lines of the diagonal. When you reach the small square, go across. Go on to the diagonal, go across. So therefore, you should have 4 diagonals going across, and you're going to cut like that, okay? Notice it's different, and that's going to be your top square. For those of you who are doing, you decided I just want 2 colors. Notice, well, I use crayons here, and I colored 2 pieces of 2 squares. One was blue, one is green, and observe carefully. I want you to look at it carefully. My diamond, right? And my diagonals line up, and my separate one, there's a hole in the middle. You can't see it in the picture, but each, where they line up, there are holes, okay? So there's a hole here, there's a hole here, and there's a hole here. Pay attention. So this one is our bottom, this is our top. Remember that. Okay, so this is, I'm showing you how to cut. Remember, we cut along the diagonal and across. That's very, very important. Okay, right. So we have top and bottom, and we glue it to the inside. Remember, we had the little squares, put a little bit of glue so they touch. Now we are not gluing all the flaps. The only thing that will be glued, let me go back to here. The only thing is you're putting glue on this. Let me go back again. So therefore, you're going to put glue here, right? And this one is going at the bottom, this one is going at the top. Similarly, let's go back here, right? You're gluing, that is going to be on the top. This one is going, so the glue is going to go here, only here, right? On that gray, that small square. But remember, we are making a windmill, right? So let's go back, glue. Same thing here, I'm showing you here, right? Then we're going to weave the bottom through the space. Remember those slits that we made? So now the bottom flaps are going into the top one. Similarly here, so here it is the bottom coming forward. Those cuts that we made is for the bottom to come forward, okay? And one square line up the other. I don't know if you can see the little hole. They will line up each. That hole is very, very important, right? And the third square now, it is, so here I have on the table the 2 together, but I'm holding in my hand that third square. Remember, we made 3 squares, right? And I'm putting glue at the top. There again, I'm putting glue on the top. Then I am holding it. Remember, we want the air to pass through. The flaps on the top will line up with the lines. Look at the lines that I'm showing you. These lines here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. The flaps from the bottom square will come here. And here it is, I'm showing you. Notice there's a space here. There's a space here. So they're lining up here. So the bottom flats are coming up. Notice there are spaces. And guess what? These remaining flaps will go there. Right? So this is a colorful one where the lines, they line up. I'm showing you with a colorful one. And now we take the remaining. So this is what the head will look like. This is what the head will look like. Okay? So you have your colorful head would look like this, and your two color head would look like this. Okay? Notice that there is a space here because we did not stick it together, right? Let me show it again here. There's a space here because we did not stick it together. The only thing is stuck is it flaps onto the third rectangle. Let me show it again here. So the flaps are stuck onto the third square, sorry, the third square, and there's a space there. All right, so now we take a skewer, cookie stick, and you pass. Remember I told you about the holes between the three squares? So it goes through, these two are stuck together, and the third one. Right. Next, I want you to take a straw and make a T. You just take two straws, cut it, right? Use some tape, put it around it to make a T. All right. Where's my other windmill? Just fell down. Good. So we have the skewer, right, with it, and we pass it through the T like that. Now, if you want, some of you might have a bead. You could stick at the top here so that it wouldn't fall through, right? You could also put tape at the back here, right? And here we have our windmill. So we have our colorful one, and we have our two color one, right? You could also put some tape here so it wouldn't be flying all over the place, and you can cut it. I kept it long just to show you all how it would look. Let's see. Then that's it. So this is a project for family. You could work together, all right? So the key elements is to not stick those three small squares together. It's just the two in the center there, and you have that hole, and then there's the space. Now, let's see if my windmill works. So I'm gonna put on my fan here. All right. Wait, let me put it for the camera to see. Here it is, it's working. Right. Here it is again. It is. So here we have our windmill. So let me just go over one more time with you. So you have the option. So the only thing in making the windmill, you must have two squares. I like the measurement of 15 centimeters. 10 centimeters is a little too small and difficult for you to manipulate. 15 centimeters, if you want to go 20, you can go 20, all right? 15 centimeters. I don't want you using construction paper. I want you practicing your skills of coloring. Okay, so you could color it, you could paint it. If you paint it, leave it to dry. I did leave it to dry, right? Because you need paper to dry for you to be able to bend it and fold it. So you're making two squares, two 15 centimeter squares. I prefer 15 centimeter squares. And you are making three 3 centimeter squares, right? Your diagonals are the lines that you cross that will cut it in half. Later on, you will learn about it. It's called symmetry, your lines of symmetry. And you're making a hole in the middle. That hole is in the middle so that your skewer, you could use a skewer, or if you have, you could use a matchstick. But you need something that's long enough so that when you put your holder, which is your straw, through it, it could hold it, okay? And you have your windmill and you could put it in plants or when you're in your car while you're driving, right? Now at the end here, I needed to either put some tape to hold this here, right? And also I put a button in the front here, all right? So I want you to take your time, have some fun. Let me see what you come up with. I prefer you go with plain colors in terms of, I could either go the color wheel Or you can go with just two plain colors, no designs in it, because it will take a little while for you to understand, especially when it comes to the weaving part. The weaving part could be a little time consuming, but you can do it. Remember, with God, all things are possible, and you can have fun. So, safe practices are in order. Adios. Hasta la vista.